Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. If you love offense, we have the game for you. Our second game of the week is a Southland Conference matchup between number 7 Nicholls and number 12 Sam Houston State. A battle between two electrifying offenses, a game where it could come down to who gets a stop first or who has the ball last. That's how good this game is going to be. A top 15 matchup, guys. Again, the FCS spring season continues to get better and better, and this might be one of the best games of this early season. So let's go ahead and take a look at both these teams. We're going to break down the offense, the defense, our prediction for who we have winning this game in the Southland Conference, and a little bit of background on both of these teams so far this season. And that's where we'll start. And let's start with Nicholls, the 7th ranked team in the country. The Colonels, the 7th ranked team in the country. And again, this is a team and a rank for them that no one saw coming earlier in the year. No one saw this coming just 3-4 weeks ago. You look at how well Nicholls has been playing, it's because they're 7th in the country, I would say, because of their offense. They beat Lincoln 87-3, and you don't need to put too much stock into that. Lincoln, I believe it was Lincoln, Missouri, was in a division well below Nicholls' level. We talk about FBS playing FCS. This would be like the FCS playing basically D2. I mean, it was a very lopsided matchup, and Nicholls took advantage of that. Well, then they played Lamar the following week. That's an FCS program. They beat them 55-0. And then the following week, they beat Northwestern State 31-24. A game that was a lot closer, a little bit more competitive than the last two, but it should be noted that Nicholls never trailed in that game. They are 3-0, and their offense is lighting it up. And we'll touch more on that in a second. Sam Houston State, the Bearcats, now the 12th ranked team in the country, they've only played one game so far this year. And we touched on it a few weeks ago in our Week 2 recap, the season, or the weekend, I should say, that saw countless upsets, including North Dakota State's loss to Southern Illinois. But Sam Houston State played that one game. They won it over Southeast Louisiana, beat them 43-38, putting up 672 yards of offense. And again, you can expect possibly a similar performance from their offense in this game against the Colonels. So let's break it down. You've got a team that's played 3 games in Nicholls versus a team that's played 1 game in Sam Houston State. That could play a factor in this one. That could play a role in this one in terms of experience, in terms of just being fresh. Sam Houston State rested, but not as experienced in games as Nicholls has been. You look at the Colonels' offense first. Again, one of the top offenses in the FCS right now. A major reason for their success is their quarterback, Lindsey Scott Jr., a dual-threat quarterback that's just lighting it up, guys. I mean, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation right now. 684 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Has 239 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So he can do it all. A little more lethal through the air. I think he prefers to stay in the pocket, but he's got that dual threat capability to extend plays and create plays with his legs. The Colonels are averaging 553.7 yards per game through 3 games this year. And on top of the fantastic performances from their quarterback, they're averaging nearly 300 rushing yards per game. They're averaging 295.7 rushing yards per game, had 392 rushing yards against Lamar, had 246 rushing yards against Northwestern State. Those numbers, guys, are ridiculous. They're unheard of at the collegiate level. I mean, 392 rushing yards in a single game, almost averaging 300 rushing yards per game. And I know the season's still young, but that is ridiculous. And they're doing so with their running back in Julian Gums, 270 yards and 3 touchdowns so far this year. They've got Dejeen Dixon, their star wide receiver, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, this team is very senior-led. They're very led by juniors and seniors, upperclassmen. This is an experienced Nicholls team, and we're seeing that because of how well they're playing offense, how well their chemistry is on the offensive side of the ball. They're one of the most electric and balanced teams in the country. The question is, can they keep it up on the road against Sam Houston State? When you look at the Bearcats, again, the 12th ranked team in the country, the home team in this matchup, they've played 1 game, but we knew coming into this year that the Bearcats were going to have a solid offense. We expected that. We've always expected that. from Sam Houston State. You look at them last year, they were averaging 31.9 points per game, and they were still led by their quarterback in Eric Schmid, doing a great job already in that Week 1 game against Southeast Louisiana, throwing for 428 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, the team as a whole had 672 yards of offense. So you look at Schmid, obviously they're going to be more of a pass-heavy team. We've seen that from Sam Houston State. They would prefer to throw it, I think, more than run it. But they have a great running back in the backfield, Raymond Jefferson, 139 yards and a touchdown in that win over Southeast Louisiana. This team as a whole, guys, while they may be just as electric as Nicholls, they might be a tad bit faster. We talk about balance, we talk about speed, we talk about the yards, the stats, but you look at Sam Houston State in that win, again, against Southeast Louisiana, 43-38, they had 5 touchdown drives in that game. 5 touchdown drives in that game, none of them exceeded 4 minutes. All 5 touchdown drives were under 4 minutes. They can score, and they can score in a hurry. So for Nicholls, no lead is safe. You get up 14-0, 17-0, all it takes is one quick home run ball from Eric Schmid to whoever it may be. One home run ball for the Bearcats, and they are back in that game. They can score extremely, extremely quick. And that's something to watch out for in this game here. When you look at the defense, guys, we always talk about, no matter what game we're breaking down, when you have a game with 2 great offenses, it sometimes could come down to the defense. Which defense is going to come up with a stop? Which defense is going to force a turnover? If it's a shootout and you're back and forth, just one of those things could give your team the win. And we could be seeing an example of that here between the Colonels and the Bearcats. Which defense will step up? When you look at Nicholls and what they've done so far through 3 games, it's impressive that they've only allowed 27 points total. They're allowing an average of just 9 points per game so far this year. They held Lamar to 91 yards, 91 total yards in that 55-0 shutout. But the problem that I have is the last defensive performance for Nicholls, where they allowed 237 rushing yards to Northwestern State. That is the problem I had. Lamar was below Nicholls. All right, they were talent-wise, they were below them. Yes, in the FCS, but Nicholls was favored. They were going to win, and they did just that. Lincoln, forget it. 87 points is ridiculous, but Lincoln never stood a chance. So their first true test against Northwestern State, they allowed 237 rushing yards and only won by 7. That's a bit of a concern because Sam Houston State's better than every single opponent that Nicholls has faced this year. It's also a concern considering the Bearcats had 244 rushing yards in that win over Southeast Louisiana in their first game of the year. Nicholls allowed 237 last game. Sam Houston State had 244 and their lone win of the season. They've been great against the pass. Nicholls has done phenomenal in the secondary, allowing a grand total of 141 passing yards this year. Grand total of 141 passing yards this year. Secondary is no joke. But if they can't stop the run, Schmid might have a day off. Keep handing it off to Jefferson, set up the play action, and Nicholls could be in for a world of hurt on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at Sam Houston State, their defense isn't exactly that great either. You know, you might even give a slight edge defensively to Nicholls here, because Sam Houston State allowed 536 yards to Southeast Louisiana. They allowed 462 passing yards and 4 touchdowns to Cole Kelly, the former Arkansas quarterback, transferred down to Southeast Louisiana. But what they did do, and I thought they did well, was that they held them to 74 rushing yards. So Cole Kelly lit it up, almost 500 yards through the air. But they held Southeast Louisiana to 74 total rushing yards. And that's something to watch out for here, because Nicholls has a dual threat quarterback in Lindsey Scott Jr. They're averaging 295.7 rushing yards per game. Is this going to be a game where Sam Houston State slows down the run and forces Lindsey Scott Jr. to stay in the pocket and win the game solely through the air? That is the key for Sam Houston State. Limit Lindsey Scott Jr. I'm not even that worried about Sam Houston State stopping the run. I think they can slow down Nicholls' run game. I really do. So it's going to be, can Lindsey Scott, for the Colonels, can he step up and win it, even if he can't win it on the ground? That is the million-dollar question. That's the storyline you need to watch out for. So what's going to happen in this game, guys? Again, Southland Conference game, number 7 versus number 12. We are getting some fantastic ranked versus ranked matchups early in this FCS season. And you need to soak it up. Soak it in. Because these are playoff-type games that we're getting right now in the middle of the regular season. We don't see that very often. We certainly really don't see this in the FBS. Rarely do we see that in the FBS. So enjoy it. But in this game between the Colonels and the Bearcats, the first thing you have to look at is, and really what the game genuinely comes down to, is Nicholls' ability to keep up their offensive success, to continue to play at such a high offensive level like they have the last 3 games, and can the Colonels stop Sam Houston State's run game? That is the key. Because I will tell you this right now. Eric Schmid for Sam Houston State will light it up through the air. He's that good. He's going to find a way to make the plays at quarterback. And I can tell you this. Nicholls has allowed 141 total passing yards over 3 games. Schmid will exceed that in the first half. Eric Schmid will have at least 141 passing yards in the first half against Nicholls. There's no doubt about it. This is the best offense they've seen, the best quarterback they've seen all year long. So, they've got to find a way to maybe make them a little bit one-dimensional. If you want to slow down Schmid, sure, well, your rushing defense better step up. All right, that's going to be the key. If your rushing defense doesn't step up, then Schmid's going to take it back and just keep handing it off. That's the key for Nicholls defensively. When you look at Sam Houston State, they've got to contain Lindsey Scott Jr. like we just mentioned a few minutes ago. Contain him because they got burned by Cole Kelly. He's not even a runner. Lindsey Scott has shown that he can dominate in the pocket, but he's even more dangerous or can be as dangerous when he escapes. Sam Houston State hasn't seen a quarterback like that in a while. They've got to be prepared for that. Don't let him escape and show off his dual threat ability. And secondly, hold Nicholls to 150 yards or less on the ground. Remember, they're averaging usually 300 rushing yards per game right now. If Sam Houston State cuts that in half, holds them to 150 rushing yards or less, I can guarantee you that the Bearcats will win. That is the key for them. And in this game, guys, I believe that's exactly what happens. I believe Sam Houston State's defense steps up big time. Nicholls, going on the road, facing off against the best team they've certainly seen all year, kind of gets a reality check. This game is going to be close, but they get a bit of a reality check here against the 12th ranked team in the country. Eric Schmid lights it up. Lindsey Scott Jr. lights it up. But again, there is something to be said for strength of schedule. And on the road against an elite opponent, Nicholls will fall just short in a shootout. In a close shootout that comes down to the final minute, but it is Sam Houston State that comes away with the win, improves to 2-0, hands Nicholls their first loss of the year. But I've got a feeling that both these teams will make a deep playoff run in April. I can promise you that. And this could very well be one of the top games of the FCS season. So you do not want to miss it. The Colonels, 7th ranked team in the country. The Bearcats, the 12th ranked team in the country, squaring off this Saturday afternoon. And we get the Bearcats taking it home in a thrilling shootout in the final minutes. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. The more you share our videos, the more you tell your friends, your coworkers, your family about the Gridiron Expert, the more we continue to grow and share the word of college football. So make sure to do that. Check out everything down in that description below. Exclusive content for you guys to help you get through this FCS season and this college football offseason as a whole. We have our brand new Gridiron Expert podcast down there. Make sure to go give it a look. All the links for all the services down there in the description. Exclusive content that you will not find anywhere else. So make sure to check it out. You will not regret it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.